Hey everyone, it's Sleepy Reader, aka Damien. I've got my sparkling yerba mate beverage with hibiscus and citrus flavors from Trader Joe's. Snooty, expensive drink, I guess. Can I open it? Oh, there we go. I've got my bag of tennis balls. I don't know why that's out here. My ball sack. I've got 10 comics that I picked up September 1st, Wednesday, September 1st. I'm running quite late. Just haven't found time to shoot a video sooner. I'm already reading the next set of comics that I picked up yesterday at the comic book store. But anyway, this set was all okay, and none grabbed me in a really big way, the way some weeks I get a lot that really grab me. So, in a different week, none of these would have reached number one. Of course, only one of them reached number one. So this is my comic book thoughts, which I rank in a countdown. The ranking is completely subjective, based purely on my enjoyment at the time I read it, not what I think is the best comic in some kind of ideal way or anything like that, but very contextually based in my reading, to use a fancy word, to go with my fancy drink. I don't know why I'm showing you the bottle again. I'm in a goofy mood. I don't have that much time. So I didn't hate any of these. I enjoyed reading them all, actually. So I enjoyed reading my number 10, which is called Telepaths. It's a new Michael J. Straczynski book from AWA Upshot. And I think in one sense, a lot of these had a level of disappointment in one level or another. And I was excited to get a book drawn by Steve Epting. But I don't think it's particularly exciting Steve Epting art. It's nothing bad. It's very professional. But it lacks like the zing that I felt like when he was doing, what was that? What was that spy book he was doing? Anyway, sorry. I'm distracted by garbage trucks in the distance. This was about some solar flare that causes everyone to go unconscious, and then when they wake up, a whole bunch of them are telepaths. And I couldn't tell from the comic, but the back matter, I think, mentions 20 million or 40 million telepaths. But it's done like these old disaster movies or something, where you follow a whole bunch of different characters, you get a little bit of each before the disaster happens, and then you're going to get a little bit of each, I guess, after the disaster happens. Judging from the cover for next issue, these two, and also from the back matter by Straczynski, these two characters, this black convict, double or triple murderer, and this cop, are going to be the main heroes. And again, that feels very retro in these days after all of the George Floyd stuff we've seen, all of the police and their treatment of black people, to get this kind of cliched, hardened, super tough, brutal criminal who's a black man, and then the honest white cop. It feels kind of wrong. But putting that aside, it's a perfectly pleasant read of a certain sort. Really not nearly as enjoyable was Midnighter. This is the Midnighter Annual. There's no Midnighter ongoing. Why is there a Midnighter Annual? Apparently this is a sequel to some future state story. They don't even bother telling you which future state you should have read to understand this. And I didn't read anything. I just figured I could jump in. And boy, was I wrong. None of it makes any sense. I mean, eventually you understand that one of the villains is named Trojan, and we've got a Midnighter from some other timeline, plus a Midnighter from here. But even with the villain Trojan, you get no sense of what he's after or what he's doing, what makes him the villain, other than he's bad and Midnighter keeps trying to kill him. so to the I mean, I assume it makes more sense to someone who's read the other stories, but it was like freaking gobbledygook. But I got a huge kick, and I don't always love Michael Oeming's art, but I got a huge kick out of his art here, and I really wished there was a good script to go with it, because he was just having a lot of fun. It had a real retro modern, as I call it, because it's not really the way things would have been in the Silver Age, but it just captures some of the pizzazz and fun of the Silver Age and pushes it up a notch in terms of some modern techniques and stuff, with great coloring. I believe the colorist is Avon Oeming's wife. I can't find the credits. I know in the past that I've heard interviews with him and his wife, and they work together a lot. But her name is not Oeming. And the credits are somewhere in the middle. Here they are. Her name is Taki Soma, whether she's his wife or not. And David Sharp was the letterer, also very nice lettering. So a great package, except for hideously horrible writing. And who should we blame for that? Let me go back to that middle credits. A team-up of Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad writers. I've read some good indie comics written by Becky Cloonan, but what the heck they're doing here, it's like they expect the reader to know so much that I didn't as a reader. I kind of enjoyed this issue of Inkblot. Inkblot's just been feeling a bit too random. A lot of nice artwork, a lot of nice color here. Our character apparently dies. I guess that's her dying, and then goes to some kind of afterlife. It's also kind of blasé. And here she is saying, they killed me. I don't know. It just hit me wrong. But it's kind of fun. I'm not cutting this from my pull list, I guess. There was a lot in here to enjoy. I probably am cutting Geiger from my pull list. This issue just really firmed up the feeling that there's nothing special here beyond the normal post-apocalyptic, overly familiar Mad Max kind of world that we got here. So we still have the incredible art and coloring. The writing is certainly not like the Becky Cloonan writing. Everything's clear what's going on. But I'm not excited to continue with this. And I guess they're going to have a whole kind of universe of heroes starting up here. They even have a timeline and stuff. And I just feel like I don't care. They're going to do a book about him. So I don't know. I might be tempted to keep getting it with art by Gary Frank, but I don't know. It just feels so unexciting to me. So that was number 7. In at number 6 is Kaiju Max, number 3 of season 6, the final season of Kaiju Max. I'm sad. I feel kind of guilty that I don't love Kaiju Max the way I used to. Way back in the early seasons, it was always my number 1 book. I don't think I was ranking them then, but it was always my favorite book of the week. It was my favorite series. I tried pushing it on a bunch of people. That didn't work out too well because the black humor is hard to take in a trade form. But anyway, I still really enjoy the art and some of the situations, but I've just kind of stopped really caring, and I feel less connected to the events that are going on, less able to parse them all completely. But yeah, I really enjoy the art. I guess I really developed an appreciation over 6 seasons of this for what Xander Cannon does visually, and maybe that's gotten better too. So that's another one that you could rack up to expectations not being met. I mean, I ranked it in kind of in the middle, number 6, and number 5, right in the middle, is Gru versus Tarzan. Another, sometimes when they're doing other Gru miniseries, it would be always amongst my top books. But this Gru Tarzan concept so far isn't really producing a whole lot of interest. The Tarzan aspect is just kind of playing a safe, bland Tarzan story that just at the very end of this second issue intersects with Gru. Gru somehow finds a a passageway into Tarzan's world by accident. And then we have the other thread, which is the zany adventures of Mark Evanier and Sergio Aragonés. And that part's not bad at all, but it's not nearly as good as my expectations from a standard Gru comic would be. So it's too bad. I guess, Gru meets Conan was also not that great. If you want some really good Gru, go for Gru Play of the Gods or one of the other miniseries that just focus on Gru that Dark Horse has out. Parasomnia, number 3. I really like Parasomnia. A lot of it has to do with the art. Incredible art and coloring, done by the same fellow, Andrea Muti, and just clicking so well on this comic. And obviously, it's almost the belief of the artist. The artist's belief in the story makes the story real for me and makes the story what otherwise might be just a totally frustrating and confusing story. It makes it feel like it all has meaning and stuff. But I was able to track and understand what was going on more, or I thought I was, in issue 2. I was confused in issue 1, starting to get more on track with things on issue 2, but now I feel confused again in issue 3. I don't even know, I guess this is the guy's father. I'm not sure is he the one in the imaginary world, or is the kidnapped son in an imaginary world? And who are these people interviewing him? I mean, they look like fellow street people. It's just hard to keep track of. I still really like the American Indian character, who is probably an imaginary character of either the son or the father. There's just too much. There's only one more issue to go. There's an awful lot of mystery here. And yet I like this quite a bit. I put it at number 4. At number 3, another Colin Bunn written book, which also has great art, called Basilisk. And this has maybe, I think I love the art in Parasomnia even more, but Basilisk has really great art, and it's balanced out by an easier to track story. Again, it would be nice if Colin Bunn gave us even more than he does give us in terms of who these kind of monstrous characters are. But I don't know how long this is going for. I don't know. This is chapter 4, and I know Parasomnia is only going to be 4 issues. This is a Boom comic. They don't let out how many issues there's going to be, but I'm sure there's at least 6. So I still hold out hope for even more explanation of who all the characters are. But a huge hats off to the artistic team. Where's the credits? Maybe they're at the end. Of Jonas Scharf doing the illustrations and colored by Alex Gumarez. And they are a great team. And it's definitely a team effort. It's not like, there's art and then there's coloring. It's the whole effect together. That is really nice. Yeah, so not a lot more to say about that. I just look forward to see where it will go, and probably my ultimate judgment on it will be, when I get to whatever the final issue is, or final issue of a storyline, did Colin Bunn manage to make some twist off of this group of monsters hidden amongst us who've done awful things, and someone gets revenge on them? What's the twist going to be? And that brings me, in a way, to my number 2, which even there at number 2, I was disappointed because of my own expectations. I expected something really clever to happen at the end. The ending here, I don't want to give it away, was perfectly fine. I had hoped for more. But I'm putting it in at number 2 instead of number 1, I guess, because of that. Even though from any more objective point of view, this is better than my number 1 comic. I will totally admit that. I just totally love look at this. I just totally love the colors in that first panel. It's just kind of a perfection of a comic book panel coloring. And throughout this series, did I say this is the final book, issue 5 in the Many Deaths of Layla Starr by Ram V and Philippe Andrade, who did the art and coloring. So it you might say it's a nice peaceful end, philosophical, but kind of obvious. I think he could have even come to this kind of obvious end from another route that would have made it more powerful or more interesting. I think he built up a story and then he just sort of let the air gently out of the story. That's okay. I mean, I'm ranking it number 2, but like I say, I had higher hopes for this. I know there's a bunch of people saying this is the very best comic of the year. I won't pass judgment till the end of December, but I'm thinking this is likely a book to make it on my best of the year, but not best of, amongst the better comics of the year, but maybe not best of the year in the end. But we'll also see how long as it settles into my head if I have a changing point of view on it. And then my number 1, very problematic for a number of reasons, is Pirate Queen by Peter Milligan. Peter Milligan, the writer, Adam Polina, the artist, and importantly, Tamara Bonvillain, the colorist. And we have a rousing tale of a woman pirate on the high seas and her her rise in the world of piracy, and then her downfall by the end of the issue, which will, I think, lead to the next act. And it's very well done. It doesn't, you wouldn't have guessed this was a Peter Milligan comic. There's nothing radical about it, except that it's unusual to see pirate comics, although I think there's a number of pirate comics out there on the fringes of the comics world right now, maybe often with female characters. But all the beats are done just right. It's a satisfying, good old-fashioned story. Perhaps with a bit of a what's the word? An extra cynical edge to it, in a sense. So I really enjoyed reading it a lot, and the coloring and the art was very good. And then there was a sci-fi backup story that was pretty good, also very cynical. It was by Matt Kint and Trevor Hairsine, I believe. Is that it? No. Travel Foreman, I'm sorry. And Matt Kint and Travel Foreman. Very slick and professional, and kind of with just a very cynical kind of twist at the end. And that was great. And then a very underground-looking image at the back by Tony Millionaire. Here's the thing. This comic cost $7.99. It cost $8. It's a 30-page comic, 30 pages of art, which, is better than a Marvel comic for $3.99. But that's an incredible price. And I think this is part 1 of 5. Do I buy the rest? I didn't realize how expensive it was when I go to the one shop I know of with Bad Idea. I was like, oh, there's the Bad Idea comics, and I grabbed the ones that look good. I said, oh, Peter Milligan, I'll take that. But $8 for a 30-page comic. Now it does have spot varnish by Jared Osborne, so I guess that makes it, collectible. But it's a very nicely produced thing. It has this sketch on the inside cover. And I had a lot of fun reading it, but I don't normally pay $8 for that amount of fun. For a little bit more, I could get a trade. In fact, with a discount on something like in-stock trades, there's lots of $10 trades I could get for less than that. And I have no discount at the shop where I get Bad Idea. Anyway, so there's that. Let me show you, since I have done a pretty short video, I can show you the comics that I bought yesterday and I've already started reading. Get them out of the little carrying case. Okay, I've already read Conan the Barbarian number 25 / number 300. And I've read the Me You Love in the Dark and Not All Robots and The Unbelievable Unteens, issue number 2. And I still have to read Khazar, Lord of the Lord of the Savage Line. For a second I thought it said undead, Lord of the Undead. I've got 6 sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, number 4. Ordinary Gods, number 3. Eve, number 5. Canto Lionhearted, number 3. That's a cool cover. A little dark, but cool. Last Book You'll Ever Read, number 2 from Vault. And Dead Box, yet another number 1 comic from Mark Russell, also from Vault. And Defenders number 2. So that's a lot of comics. I'm looking forward to those. It's already looking like a good week from the 4 that I've read. So I'll catch you all again soon. I hope you're having a good comic book reading week. Oh, and as far as I know, for the Saturday evening after Rose City Comic Con, we're still meeting up at the Spirit of 77, the bar that's very near the convention center. And if you're going, you may have heard that they will now be requiring proof of vaccination at the door.
$220. $260.
You've been outbid.
Fair warning. $300.
You've been outbid.
Fair warning. $340.
You've been outbid.
Fair warning.